People often think about electric vehicles as money-saving ventures, getting away from gas, but I don't think as many people think of electric vehicles as a performance option versus a gas car. After experiencing and driving hundreds of Teslas at Infiniti of Tacoma, I've definitely realized that the performance of electric vehicles in a lot of ways is superior over gas vehicles, even performance gas-powered vehicles. And this 2020 Model 3 Performance is a great example of a vehicle that just really excels in all areas, especially performance. So this is a dual motor performance. So you have a motor in the front and the motor in the back, giving it dual motors, making it all-wheel drive, also making it very quick. It's almost like having two engines. 0 to 60 is a little over 3 seconds. I believe the top speed's right around 150 miles an hour. And the thing about electric vehicle, there's no hesitation. There's probably, they don't have official power figures, but I think it's about 450 horsepower, similar amounts of torque. Where a gas engine needs to rev to get to its peak power band, maybe it needs to rev to 6,000 or 7,000 RPM, where that engine is making its peak output. Electric vehicles, they pretty much have peak output as soon as you hit the throttle. So as soon as you hit that throttle, all that horsepower, all that torque is there instantly. So the throttle response, acceleration is very rapid. Gas cars, performance gas cars, they tend to have an advantage like at top, high-end top speeds, top-end performance. But in the real world, most people aren't going 100 plus miles an hour, not going 120, 130, 140 miles an hour. Really, where we experience our performance is like the 0 to 100 miles per hour. And 0 to 100 miles per hour, few gas cars can touch this thing. It just is an absolute rocket ship because you have the weight of the batteries keeping this pinned to the ground. You have power going to all four wheels, and the power comes on instantly. So this thing just takes off. There's no gears to change. No transmission to think about what gear to put it in, or if you have a manual transmission, the momentary lifting off the throttle to change gears. Not the case with this thing. It's if you've never experienced the acceleration of a vehicle like this, it's definitely mind-blowing. I remember the first time I got behind a Model 3 Performance, and I've driven lots of fast cars, and it absolutely blew my mind. And it's fairly addicting. Even my Tesla, I have a Tesla Standard Range Plus, which is this one motor, 0 to 60 right on 5 seconds. I mean, the acceleration from that is pretty amazing. This is a completely different level. So for 2020, the Model 3 Performance had different options as far as wheels and tires and brakes go. There's a performance upgrade package, which became standard on later Teslas. So you might be wondering, well, where are the red brake calipers? Where are the larger diameter wheel and tires on this Model 3 Performance? Well, in 2020, it was still optional. In 2021, they just made it standard across the board. So that's some of the differences. But I can kind of show you some hints on what makes this a performance. You'll notice that a regular dual motor Model 3 just says dual motor. A performance variant, and this also applies to the Y, will have a red line underneath the dual motor. So you can see it there. And we go towards the outside of the vehicle, we'll also see that. Obviously, you can also look at, if you own the vehicle, you can look at the information about it. This is actually a good segue to show you the Tesla app. The Tesla app's amazing. You can use your phone as a key. You have a level of connectivity with your vehicle unlike any other vehicle that I've experienced. So you can see here, it's a dual motor. We go to specs and warranty, and we can see it's got to think a little bit here. Oh, okay. Here we go. So it's a long range all-wheel drive performance. So if it wasn't a performance, we'd just say long range all-wheel drive of the 19-inch sport wheels. And then if you're curious about the warranty, we have a warranty till December 17th, 23, or 50,000 miles. And then the battery and drive units, we have warranty all the way up to December of 2027 on 120,000 miles. So lots of warranty left on the drive units in the electric motors. So I know some people kind of worry about, what's going to happen if the battery goes. Well, it'll be quite a while since you'll have to worry about the batteries going in this thing. And honestly, Tesla's batteries are pretty robust. The incidence of Tesla batteries going bad are fairly uncommon. And there's, they've made 3 million electric cars so I mean, there's a lot of examples of Model 3s and S's with 100, some 200. There's actually one Model S with 1 million miles. So Tesla's batteries tend to be very robust. A battery replacement is, you know, very few and far between. Replacing a battery in an EV is like replacing an engine. Sometimes an engines go bad and you have to replace them, but realistically the engine and the batteries in an EV are supposed to last the service life of the vehicle. They're not really meant to be replaced. They're supposed to last the whole entire life of the vehicle, and that's going to be the case for most Tesla Model 3s like this. We have amazing Autopilot, which is traffic-aware cruise control, which allows the vehicle to brake and accelerate in its own lane. You can use it on back roads, you can use it on the highway, main roads. It's great for stop-and-go traffic. I use it all the time. I'm so spoiled by it, I find myself, if I have to run errands for work, and I like to take a work vehicle, not to put wear and tear on my own vehicle, and I'm the used car manager, I can usually drive, you know, pretty much whatever I want. I'm so spoiled by Autopilot, I'll just take a regular Model 3 with Autopilot, just because it's the least amount of work for me to drive. One of the most ultimate luxuries is a vehicle that can drive itself, and Autopilot is what we call level 2 autonomy. So it's going to let the vehicle brake and accelerate in its own lane. It's going to steer in its own lane, but it still want you to pay attention, keep your hand on the wheel, and all that stuff. But it is quite amazing. All right, so much to talk about, so little time. We have a slider here to control the rate of charging. Tesla for daily use recommends that you only charge the battery to 80 and 90% because this has lithium-ion batteries. Some other Model 3s have a different battery chemistry which has different charging standards, but for lithium ions, which are more performance-based batteries, for daily use only charge them to about 80-90% for the longest happy life of the battery. But every once in a while, if you want to go on a road trip, it's perfectly fine to charge them to 100% for maximum range, just not every day. So charging your Model 3 2020 Model 3 Performance to about 80-90% gives you about 230-250 miles of usable range. The EPA rating is about 300 miles brand new. You know, this has 40,000 miles, so you're going to have a little bit of you know, battery degradation. It's very slight. I think it's about, you know, maybe about after 20 years you'll maybe lose about 10% of your battery capacity. So like I said, the batteries are pretty robust. So this is like a touch screen to operate and access different settings and menus on the car. It's a little bit of a learning curve, but you'll get the hang of it fairly fast. And you can also use voice commands. You don't have to swipe through menus. Wipers on 1. Wipers off. Make it warmer. Every time I say make it warmer, I'll raise the temperature by 3 degrees. Make it warmer. Likewise, if I say make it cooler, make it cooler. So you get the idea. There's 140 different voice commands, so really you don't need to take your eyes off the road and swipe through the menu for a lot of things. You can just do it by voice commands. Not a lot of people realize that. Then we have this amazing in-car infotainment system. My kids, I was in the car with my kids while my wife was in the store. We were watching Octonauts on Netflix, so with premium connectivity, it's $10 a month. You can stream music, stream video. You can't do this stuff while you're driving. You have to do this while you're stopped, but you can obviously stream music while you're driving. Also has really cool karaoke. You can do that while you're driving. You can have a karaoke party in your car. Arcade mode, you have all these cool games you can play. And then the toy box, you have the silly thing like the boom box where you can, you know, make your horn sound like a goat. You can talk through a horn. You can make your car do a light show. You can do the whoopee cushions. You have a multi-track recorder. I mean, the level of connectivity, the level of options is unparalleled by any other vehicle. Over-the-air updates are constantly adding things, and a recent over-the-air update, they added blind spot cameras. So this is a car that even though it ages, kind of like your iPhone, you get a new iOS, you know, you get every month or every couple months you get new updates and your phone gains feature even though your phone's 2 or 3 years old. Same thing with this Model 3. My Tesla's a 2019, but the screen and the functionality, not everything, there are some things my car doesn't have, but for the most part the functionality, the look of the screen is exactly the same as a brand new 2023 Tesla because of the over-the-air updates. You're not going to get penalized for your vehicle getting older. So it just kind of keeps the car a lot more usable. You don't feel like you need to upgrade it as much when you have a vehicle that is constantly getting better. So you'll find the Model 3 Performance with multiple wheels and tire packages. You can find it kind of with the base wheel and tire package you find in the 3. This is kind of like the mid-level 19-inch wheel and tire package. And then they have an upgraded, higher performance wheel and tire package with low profile tires. One thing to think about with wheels and tires is that they do affect the range of your Tesla. So, the bigger and fancier wheels and tires that you add to your Tesla, you're going to lose range. So you can see maybe with the base wheels, you're going to get maximum range. You add these wheels, you're going to maybe lose 10 or 15 miles, and then maybe another 5 or 10 miles with their really high performance wheel and tire package. So that's something to consider. And obviously, back in 2020, the brakes were also upgradable with the performance upgrades package, which this one doesn't have. You notice those would have the red calipers. Even though the Tesla Model 3 is a compact vehicle, you have a very spacious interior because the floor is completely flat. You're not hobbled by traditional construction methods of a gas-powered vehicle having gas tanks, exhaust systems, drive shafts, transmission humps. It's a completely different way of building cars. So you have a lot of space in this vehicle. In my opinion, you have a lot more cargo and passenger space in a comparable gas car of a similar size. Look at that. Normally you'd have a gas tank there, more storage. You have a very large trunk. And again, you can tell this is a performance because it has a dual motor, and then you have a red line underneath there indicating that it is a performance version of the Model 3. Really nice color combination on white on black, very easy to take care of. I've really come to admire the understated lines and looks of the Model 3. It's very distinctive. I love the wedge shape of it. It's kind of minimalist, but there's no confusing it with any other vehicle on the road. In the car business, I'm around cars all the time. I've been in the car business for over 20 years, and honestly, cars tend to all blend together. There are subtle differences, but it seems like a lot of cars, they kind of look the same. There's only small slight differences between this car and that car, but with a Tesla, they're just so completely different than any other car on the road. I mean, that's probably why some people hate them, and maybe people like me absolutely love them. And look at this, more storage in here. This is also a safety feature. You have a crumple zone 60% larger than the one in a gas car to absorb all this crash energy, because most gas cars would have an engine here, but this is all space to absorb crash energy in a frontal collision, or put your groceries on a big grocery trip. We also have a chip guarded clear bra, keeping the front end nice and rock chip free. One beautiful example of a Model 3 performance. One awesome vehicle, all-wheel drive. Giant killing performance. It's one of the safest vehicles on the road. It's one of the most efficient. It's one of the fastest. That's why they call the Model 3 a giant killer. I mean, not a giant killer, a category killer, just because it excels pretty much in every category it competes with. Quite an amazing vehicle. I've bought one and I've loved it. I've had mine for 6 months. We've had hundreds of Teslas. Very impressive vehicles, very low maintenance issues. I could go on and on about all the fine points of these, but I don't have that much time, and you probably don't want to sit here and listen to me talk about this car for an hour. If you do, come in and talk to me. I'll be here. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you soon, and have a wonderful day.